Okay, folks. Hello, folks. Welcome. It's Wager Detective here. December 4th, 2025. We're going to get into this Cowboys-Lions game, Thursday Night Football. Click the like button and subscribe for daily breakdowns by Wager Detective. Let's get into the Cowboys here. This is a monstrous game for both these teams. Both teams are coming off playing last Thursday, so this is not a normal short week Thursday night game. Both teams played on Thursday. The Cowboys won, and then the Lions lost. So both teams are jockeying for position for the playoffs, and one team's playing good in the last couple weeks, and the other team's not playing good. The Cowboys have been playing fantastic. So let's kind of get into it with this. I just want to start this off by letting people know that the Cowboys are 9-1 in their last 10 Thursday night football games, and they're 5-1 in their last 6 road Thursday night football games. The Cowboys are 7-3 in their last 10 versus the Lions. So factor all that in. Just listen to what I'm saying. The Cowboys are 9-1 in their last 10 Thursday night football games. They're 5-1 in their last 6 road Thursday night football games, and they're 7-3 versus the Lions in the last 10. Okay, so we're going to start off with that. I think you could pretty much get an idea where I'm already leaning on this one, but we're going to still cover this game nonetheless. The over is sitting at, let's see. The over is sitting at 54.5. In the last 10 meetings between these two teams, the Cowboys and the Lions, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the 10 have gone over. So 6 out of the last 10 games between the Cowboys and Lions have gone over. So keep that in mind as well. So we're going to jump into it. We're going to talk about the Cowboys. They started off slow, man, but they found their rhythm. They've won 3 in a row. They are playing a little bit better at home than they are on the road. There are only 2 road games this year that they have won. As we take a look here, they did beat the Jets and they did beat the Las Vegas Raiders. So we look what they do. They do have 15 turnovers in the year. So if we're going to look and see where the problems lie, but we want to look here. 4 of those turnovers were in the game at Chicago, where they lost 14-31. So you lost by 17, but you turned the ball over 4 times in that game. So they're going to want to definitely not do that. And they're 9 of those 15 turnovers have been interceptions. So in the last 3 weeks, they have turned the ball over 4 times, but it hasn't affected them because they've won all 3 of those games. So if we look at what they're doing, they've had a pretty tough schedule. I mean, it's not the toughest of schedules, but they've been playing well. And Matt Eberflus has this defense playing a little bit well. Clayton Adams is the offensive coordinator with Dallas first year, but they're clicking. I mean, Pickens and Ferguson and CeeDee Lamb that they got back. I mean, these guys they're finding their way. The Cowboys do have 2 overtime games this year. They won 1, and then 1 went 40-40 against Green Bay. So, I mean, you look at who they've played. I mean, you played a good Carolina team. You lost by 3 on the road there. You're on a 3-game winning streak. The last 2 weeks, you beat the back-to-back weeks the teams that played in the Super Bowl last year. And how do they do it? Well, let's take a look here. Passing the ball, they got 26 touchdown passes on the year, and then they got 12 rushing. So they're a little bit more skewed towards the passing, getting in the end zone, but they can get it on the ground as well. Now, if we look at defensively, they've only created 10 turnovers this year, so they're minus 5 in the turnover department there, but they do have 5 interceptions, 5 fumble recoveries this year. How are teams getting in the end zone against them? Teams have gotten in the end zone 13 times on the ground, but in the last 3 weeks, they've only given up 2 rushing touchdowns. So they've gone 2 games this year, 2 games this last 3 weeks where they haven't given up any rushing touchdowns, and they're sacking teams. I mean, they got 28 sacks on the year. Okay. And let's see how many times. Dak Prescott's only been sacked 17 times. So they're plus 11 as far as sacking their opponents to letting their quarterback get sacked. So that's a promising thing there. And they do have 8 sacks in the last 3 weeks against the Raiders, the Eagles, and Kansas City. And teams are getting in there by primarily passing on them. They had 4 passing touchdowns against them last week, but if you look at the previous 2 weeks, they only had 2. They have had 4 passing touchdowns against them by Chicago, against Denver, and against Kansas City. So the AFC West has, in 2 of those games, put up 4 passing touchdowns against them. And listen, for what it's worth, I mean, you got 2 great offensive minds in those teams. You got Andy Reid and you got Sean Payton. I don't think that, and I said this before and I'll say it again, I think the reason why the Lions aren't playing as good as they are this year is because of that offensive coordinator being stripped from their offensive coordinator and Campbell saying that he's going to take over the duties, and you also lost Ben Johnson, who is now the head coach of the Chicago Bears. So teams are passing on the Cowboys, but listen, they've had games this year where teams have only gotten in the air once on them, and they've only given up 13 rushing touchdowns, and their defense has gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games this year where they have not let up a rushing touchdown. And that, to me, is what gets the Lions going. That is a big part of their game. They get Gibbs and Montgomery going, and then they open up the passing game. I don't know if Amon St. Brown's going to be in there. I don't think Laporte is playing, so they're a little bit banged up in the offensive realm for the Lions, and I just don't like the way this team is just been playing the last couple of weeks. I like the momentum of the Cowboys. Let's take a look at the stats here for the Cowboys. They are number 1 in first downs in the NFL, but they're also 28th in giving up first downs. They're number 1 in yards, but they're also 29th in giving up yards. Let's see here. They are second in the NFL in scoring touchdown passes through the air, but they're dead last in giving up touchdown passes through the air. Okay, rushing. They do have 12 rushing touchdowns. That puts them at 14th, but they've given up 13 rushing touchdowns. That puts their defense at 23rd. And then if we look here, they are average drive. They're 3rd in yards and they're 5th in points in the NFL. And on the defensive side of that, they're 29th in yards against per drive, and they're 32nd in points against per drive. So, but I do think their defense has been playing well. If we look at third down conversions, they are 5th in the NFL, converting 44% of their third down conversions, but they're dead last in giving up the third down conversions. They give it up 48% of the time. If we look at the red zone percentage, they've gotten in the red zone 48 times and they've scored 29 times. That's 60% red zone efficiency, which puts them at 13th in the NFL. And then if we look at the defense, it's just a tale of two tapes, right? They're 31st in the NFL in giving up red zone touchdowns. They've given up 32 touchdowns in 45 attempts by their opponents. Dak Prescott leads the NFL in completions with 303. He's completing 69% of his passes, and he's number 1 in the NFL of quarterbacks with 161 first downs. So that's promising for him. He's got 4 fourth quarter comebacks and 3 game-winning drives. So he's turning back he's turned back the clock here to the Dak Prescott that we knew that came into the NFL that was just this guy that was just amazing. And we know what he can do in primetime games. He's fantastic in those spots. Who's getting it done for the Cowboys on the ground? As you can see here, let's take a look here. Okay, Javonte Williams has 8 rushing touchdowns. Dak Prescott's got 2. And those are the primary guys that are getting it done on the ground there. But Miles Sanders has chipped in, and Prescott's chipped in. But Javonte Williams seems to be the guy that they're going to on the ground. As far as in the air, George Pickens leads the NFL in wide receivers with 60 first downs receptions. Very, very good. And then he's got CeeDee Lamb, Jake Ferguson, Cavante Turpin, who's been a revelation for them as well. But they got a bunch of guys to get in the end zone. Pickens leads the team with 8 touchdowns, and Jake Ferguson has 7. But CeeDee Lamb's only got 3. I expect them to probably start getting him more involved in the scoring as the season goes on. So they got to clean up the fumbles. I mean, Prescott has 4, and then Pickens has 3. But Their turnovers, like we said, they're -5 in the turnover category, so they're not going to want to do that against an opportunistic team like the Detroit Lions. Punt returns and kicking, we get to Turpin's the main guy. He's got 40 returns for 1,036 yards, about 25.9 on the kick returns. Punt returns, same thing, Kevontae Turpin. He's got 8 returns, 55 yards there. No touchdowns there. And then when we get into the kicking for the Cowboys, it's my man, Brandon Aubrey. He's one of my favorite kickers in the NFL. He's fantastic. He's 22 of 24 on the year, and he's 6 for 8 for 50 plus, making 91.7% of his field goal kicks, and he's 37 for 38 from the extra point. So the guy's fantastic. If you ask me, he's probably, in my opinion, top 3 in the NFL. He's Mr. Automatic, and he's doing it. Brian Anger is their punter. He's got 35 punts. He's averaging about 48.1 per punt. And then he's 37% of his punts are landing inside the 20. So defensively, let's see what they do here. See how they've they only got 5 interceptions on the year. That's a glaring concern that I think you're going to definitely want to work on as the year goes on, and you're heading towards possible playoff contention. You're going to want to get those numbers up. They do have 8 forced fumbles, 13 fumble recoveries. So they make up for not getting the interceptions by getting fumble recoveries, which is great. They do have 27 sacks on the year, 60 TFLs, tackles for loss, and they got 79 quarterback hits. So 79 quarterback hits, they're in 11 games. They're about seven quarterback hits a game. So they're getting pressure to the quarterback. And they're going to want to do that in this game as well. Okay? Now, let's get into the Vegas lines here and see what they've done. I mean, you look at what they've done. As an underdog versus the line this year, they're 4-1 as an underdog. That's absolutely fantastic. I mean, going into a game like this, and let's face it, they're playing indoors. They're 7-3 in their last 10 versus the Lions. They're 9-1 in their last 10 Thursday night football games. They're 5-1 in their last 6 road Thursday night football games, and they're playing great. It's not like all these stats are lining up into something where it's like, well, okay, you could throw that out there. It's all the stars are aligning here. So let's go to the Lions and see what they have done this year. Again, to me, I think Campbell was wrong. Dan Campbell taking the offensive play calling duties, kind of like it shakes the team, and it just adds a lot of pressure to what you're doing. So we look at them. John Morton, he's up in the press box now, but he was an offensive coordinator with the Jets in 2017, and now he's with the Lions here. So spent his college days at Western Michigan. Kelvin Shepard, defensive coordinator, 37 years old, first year DC. So you got a first year offensive coordinator, first year defensive coordinator, and a team that's just not playing the way they were last year. And then, like I said, you lose Ben Johnson, and Ben Johnson's the next best thing since sliced bread in the NFL as far as coaches. I mean, the guy's fantastic. You hear people raving about him. We look at their injury report. Looks like Kirby Joseph is going to be out. I don't see. It says Amon St. Brown did not practice, but he is questionable. Who else is not in there? We're going to find out at some point here who's in and who's out. When I post this on Twitter and YouTube, I'll definitely keep something in the thread. Let's look at what the Lions have done this year. I mean, you look at what they've done. Not the toughest of schedule. Dan Campbell, good coach, we get it. But you got a first-year offensive coordinator and a first-year defensive coordinator, right? And you've been alternating wins and losses since this game right here in Minnesota. You lost, you won, you lost, you won, you lost. Now, this is your third game at home. So do you get a little complacency there? You're playing at home. You feel comfortable. You feel like you could bounce back at any moment. They did have an overtime game against the Giants. They only won by 7 there. You lost at Philly. You did beat up on the Redskins, but then you the week before that, you lost it to Minnesota. You beat up on Tampa Bay. Then you lost at Kansas City. You beat the Cincinnati, who didn't have a quarterback at the time. You beat up on Baltimore in that Monday night game. which you could have easily lost that one. And you did beat up on the Bears. Let's see how they get it done here. We look, they got 26 passing touchdowns, so they're right there with the Cowboys, right? We said the Cowboys got 26 through the air, and then on the ground they got 16. So they only got 3 more rushing touchdowns than the Cowboys do. And we know that Jared Goff is a great quarterback. He plays well in prime time, so he's good. But if you look at turnovers, they're way better than the Cowboys as far as not turning the ball over. They only have 8 to the Cowboys' 15. And if you look in the last 4 weeks, they've only turned over the ball twice, and they've gone 1, 2, 3, 5 games this year where they haven't turned the ball over at all. Jared Goff doesn't look like he's going to kill you. He only has 5 interceptions on the year, and he's going 3, 4, 5, 7 games out of 12 where he hasn't thrown an interception in a game. So he's pretty rock steady. And then we look at what teams do to them. Teams have thrown 25 touchdown passes against them, right? So they're not stout there. And they've only given up 8 rushing touchdowns to the Cowboys' 13 on defense. So they're a little bit more stout on the ground to stop the run and from teams getting in once they on the ground. Defensively, they have created 13 turnovers, so they are plus 3 turnovers defensively as far as defense goes to what the Cowboys have done on turnovers this year. And they're primarily getting it through the interception. So, again, this game's going to come down to Dak Prescott not turning the ball over, not throwing an interception. And if he could do that, if he could stay focused and not throw an interception, he did that early in the KC game last week where he was under a little bit of pressure, threw the ball up, and then KC returned that ball. But after that, he kind of settled in. So, and like I said, you look at this team, let's take a look at their stats. They're 3rd in the NFL in yards, right? But they're 14th in defense, so they're better than the Cowboys defensively, but they're right there with the Cowboys as far as offensively. First downs, passing touchdowns, they're 2nd in the NFL. They're right there with the Cowboys. And look, they're 30th in the NFL in giving up passing touchdowns. So they're right there with the Cowboys. Now, rushing the ball, they are 3rd in the NFL with 16 rushing touchdowns. But again, this is where they're a little bit more stout than the Cowboys as far as giving up rushing touchdowns. They're 7th in the NFL, the Lions defense, in giving up rushing touchdowns and only giving up 8. Now, you look at their average drive, it looks like the Cowboys are a lot more better on offense, but the Lions are way more stout on defense. Average play per drive on defense for the Lions, they're only letting teams, they're 5th in the NFL in allowing teams play per drive. They're 7th in allowing teams yards per drive, and their defense is 16th in allowing points per drive. But the Lions' offense is 6th in the NFL in points per drive with 2.61 points per drive. Now we look at red zone. Third down conversions. They're 19th in the NFL, so the Cowboys are a little bit better there in converting third downs. But their defense is more stout in not letting teams convert the third down. And that's going to be challenged here because I just feel like the Cowboys are clicking right now. Now, if we look at red zone percentage, they are 7th in the NFL. They've gotten a touchdown on 30 of their 46 attempts for 65%, which is pretty stout. But then defensively, they've given up 24 touchdowns and 38 attempts for 63%. So that's definitely going to be challenged here. So you can already see that this game is kind of, even at 54.5, in my times past, I would look at that as a high number. But in this particular spot, both teams are on a Thursday night game, but they just played on a Thursday. So they have a full week of complimentary play of practice to kind of get everything worked out. It's not really a short week as you would expect on a Thursday night game. Both teams did play, as I said, on Thanksgiving. So we look at Jared Goff having a pretty good year. He's fantastic. 25 touchdown passes, only 5 interceptions. His ADOT, yards per catch, is 11.5. I mean, he's got 1 fourth quarter comeback and 2 game-winning drives. So Prescott's a little more seasoned in bringing teams back when they're down. Now, who's getting it done for the for the Lions? Jamar Gibbs has got 10 on the ground. David Montgomery has 6. And those are the guys that are getting it done. And then average yards per attempt, Jamar Gibbs is leading the NFL with 5.8 yards per attempt. Receiving, They got a bunch of guys here. I mean, you got Amon St. Brown. We don't know if he's going to play tonight, but he does lead the team with 9 receiving touchdowns. Jamison Williams, another stud, 6 receiving touchdowns. And then you got a couple guys with 3 here, Sam Laporta and Isaac Tesla. They both have 3 receiving touchdowns. Kicks and punt returns, let's see who's standing out here for them. It looks like Jacob Sailors is their main returner, 26 returns for 700 yards, about 26.9 yards per return. Okay, kicking, let's see who's getting it done there. Jake Bates is their kicker here. He's 40 of 42. He's leading the NFL in both those categories. He's only missed 2 extra points, but he's only 16 for 20 on field goals and 4 for 7 from 50 plus. So the Cowboys definitely have the advantage there when it comes to kicking. Punting, Jack Fox, he's got 43 punts on the year. He's 45.7 yards per punt, and 53.5% of his punts are landing in the 20. Defensively for the Lions, they're not much better than the Cowboys. They got 9 interceptions to the Cowboys' 5 on defense. Fumble recoveries, they only have 6, so there's a clear advantage for the Cowboys jumping on balls that land on the carpet when the ball's fumbled. Cowboys have an edge there. The Lions have a little bit of an edge in the sack department. They do have 32 sacks, 47 TFLs, and 68 quarterback hits. I think the Cowboys look like they get more pressure on their opponents when it comes to defense. If we look at Vegas lines, let's take a look here. As a favorite this year, the Lions are 5-3 as a favorite. If we look at their last 5 games as being a favorite, well, let's look at what they do at home as being a favorite. They covered against the Bears. Okay. They covered against the Bears. They covered against Tampa Bay. They didn't cover against the Minnesota. They only won by 3. They didn't cover against the Giants. So their last 2 home games as a favorite, they didn't cover. And that was against the Giants and Green Bay. We know the Cowboys tied Green Bay on that Monday night game. So there's a common opponent there. If I was going to look at this game, man, I know that the Lions lost last week, and I know it's like you want to zigzag with this, but I really think the Lions and the way they've have been playing is a reflection of the fact that they don't have Ben Johnson as your offensive coordinator anymore, and then Dan Campbell took the offensive play calling duties away from the offensive coordinator. I just don't know if you're going to be able to stop this line off. I definitely like the over, but if I'm going to make a call here, this video is coming up on 23 minutes. I'm going to lean with the Cowboys to get it done. I think the Cowboys are playing better. They're playing with confidence. I think Eberflus' defense is going to shine a little bit more than what they've done thus far this year. And I don't know if there's injuries. I would definitely double check on those before this game starts. But even if St. Brown comes back, how effective can he be coming off of an injury where you're trying to get your timing back? The Cowboys are stout against the run, as we've seen. And I feel as though the Cowboys have what it takes to not only cover the spread, but I think they can win outright. So that's going to be Wager Detective's call here at 5:59 p.m. Here on December 4th, 2025. That's going to be the call. The Cowboys plus the 3. Hopefully you could get a 3.5. Maybe you want to wait, and maybe the Lions get a little bit of a drive going, and you could get a 4.5. But I do think I do think the Cowboys can win this game. They're very live as a dog. I like the 3 in my back pocket, and I definitely lean over 54.5. So that's the call here. Wager Detective going with the Cowboys plus 3, 3.5 if you could get it, and over 54.5. And signing off here from Atlantic City, and I'll talk to you soon.